The winter forest of the Wild West hides many secrets, but twilight brings with it a challenge for which it is impossible to be fully prepared. You stand in the middle of a snow-covered plain, feeling the cold seep through your thick fur clothing. Watch the video to the end to learn how ancient knowledge helped people survive the longest night, surrounded by an invisible threat. You hear the first drawn-out sound, even before the sun finally disappears below the horizon. The sound echoes hollowly across the icy plain. You realize that the threat is much closer than you would like. You immediately begin to examine the location of your shelter. Your gaze slides along the edges of the light cast by the blazing flames. Darkness gradually engulfs the outlines of trees and bushes. You decide that tonight you will have to sleep much more cautiously than on previous nights. You check the tension of the skins on the poles of your teepee. The icy wind tries to penetrate through the smallest cracks. You take additional pieces of thick leather and cover the gaps. It becomes a little warmer and quieter inside. You move your supply of firewood closer to the entrance. The wood must be within arm's reach. You cannot leave the lit area in the deep darkness. You stack the logs into a neat pyramid. You take a flint and tinder from your backpack. The humidity drops at night, but the frost numbs your fingers. You hold your hands over the fire to regain their sensitivity. Every movement must be precise and calculated. You take a long stick and spread the coals in the center of the fire pit. The heat instantly envelops your face. You place several thick branches on top, which will smolder until morning. The flames obediently engulf the dry bark. You listen to the crunch of snow outside the circle of light. The forest begins to live its nightlife, hidden from your eyes. You slowly turn your head, trying to catch the direction of the wind. The wind can bring new sounds or hide old ones. You take out a long wooden stake and drive it into the ground next to your sleeping place. You hang your tools on this stake so that they don't get lost in the snow. Order in the camp allows you to act quickly in any situation. You check the strength of the fastening. You sit down on a bed of fir branches. The needles give off a sharp, resinous aroma that overpowers the smell of smoke. You take off your outer shoes and place them closer to the heat source. Your feet gradually begin to warm up. The uniqueness of this night requires complete concentration on every sound. We are very interested in your point of view, so please write in the comments what you think about such overnight stays alone with wild nature. You begin to reinforce the perimeter around your shelter. You gather dry branches and build a low wall out of them. This barrier will not stop uninvited guests, but it will make noise when they approach. Each branch you find is carefully placed on top of the others, creating a fragile barrier. You deliberately choose the driest and most brittle pieces that crack easily under weight. This crunching sound will be your main alarm in the approaching darkness. Step by step, you close the protective circle around your camp. You weave thorny bushes between thick poles. Your hands work methodically despite the increasing cold. You leave only one narrow passage facing the fire. This way, you can control the only direction from which a threat could come. The sharp thorns of the plant constantly catch on your clothes and slightly scratch your frozen skin. You ignore these minor inconveniences, focusing entirely on strengthening the barrier. The density of the woven branches should delay any silhouette from the darkness for at least a second. The structure wobbles slightly, but holds its place quite firmly. You take the remains of the dried meat and wrap them in thick leather. You hang this bundle on a high branch of a tree standing at the edge of the illuminated area. The smell of food should not attract attention to your sleeping place. You carefully check the strength of the tendon rope. You tighten the knot as tightly as possible so that no gust of wind can untie it. Your precious supplies are now swinging high above the ground, out of reach of the forest dwellers. The meat is safely hidden, and now you don't have to worry about unnecessary smells around the campfire. This gives you an extra sense of calm before the long night ahead. You return to the fire and kneel down. You watch the direction of the smoke as it rises high into the black sky. The smoke masks your own scent, dissolving it into the frosty air. You add some wet pine needles to the fire to make the smoke thicker. A thick gray cloud instantly rises above the fire, stinging your eyes and making you squint. This dense smoke screen becomes another layer of your invisible protection. You nod with satisfaction as you watch the wind carry the smoke into the thicket. Your presence here is now safely hidden behind this thick trail. You examine the boundaries of light and shadow around the camp. You notice places where the darkness becomes too thick. Anything could be hiding in these gaps. You take a burning branch and throw it into the darkest area. Your hand makes a sharp throw, sending the improvised torch straight to its target. The burning wood flies in an arc, leaving a beautiful trail of fire in the cold air. You hold your breath, waiting tensely for the moment when the branch hits the snow. In these seconds, your vision is focused on a single point. A flash of light momentarily illuminates the trunks of centuries-old trees from the darkness. The snow sparkles in the yellow light, creating the illusion of movement. You stare intently at this scene until the branch goes out. Satisfied that it is empty, you return to your activities. The smoldering ember glows red for a while longer, then finally goes out. Darkness closes in around this spot again, becoming even denser and more impenetrable. You slowly exhale the tension that has built up in your chest. Another check has shown that the border of your camp remains completely secure. You spread a thick bison skin over the fir branches. The fur is facing up to retain as much of your body heat as possible. You lie down on the skin, checking how even the surface is. Any bump could interfere with your short sleep. You carefully smooth out all the folds and creases in the stiff leather with your palms. Preparing the perfect sleeping place takes time, but it's definitely worth it. You roll slightly from side to side, flattening the unruly fir branches under your weight. The bed gradually takes the shape of your body, becoming more comfortable and soft. You prepare a second skin to cover yourself with. You fold it so that you can quickly throw it aside. In your situation, reaction speed is everything. You leave your arms free, covering only your torso and legs. The heavy fur immediately begins to warm your frozen muscles and joints. You tuck the edges of the top skin under yourself, creating a kind of warm cocoon. Your palms rest on top of the cover, ready to throw off the heavy fabric at any moment. You find the perfect balance between staying warm and being ready for action. You listen again, but all you hear is the crackling of logs. The icy air burns your lungs with every breath. You begin to breathe more slowly and shallowly. This helps to preserve precious heat inside your body. The cold air seems to try to penetrate deep into your chest. You take tiny breaths through your nose, warming the frosty air before it reaches your lungs. Your chest rises and falls imperceptibly in this slow rhythm. Your body goes into maximum energy-saving mode. You lie in the darkness, but you don't relax completely. Your body is in a state of slight tension, ready for instant action. You feel the cold trying to penetrate the layers of skin and fur. The frost, like a living creature, probes your defenses, looking for the slightest gap in your clothing. You press your back closer to the protective fur, trying not to leave any areas exposed. Every muscle is tense, like a string, waiting for the slightest signal to move. Your mind remains crystal clear and alert. You use a unique technique to conserve energy. You slowly tense and relax the muscles in your legs without making any visible movements. This circulates blood through your veins and prevents your limbs from freezing. You repeat these cycles of contraction every few minutes. A wave of faint warmth begins to rise slowly from your feet to your knees. You focus on these internal sensations, pushing away thoughts of the piercing cold. This invisible exercise requires a certain amount of concentration, but it works flawlessly. Your body obediently performs this monotonous work for the sake of survival. You adjust your body position relative to the heat source. You turn toward the fire, first with your right side, then with your left. You make sure not to overheat, as moisture in the cold is deadly. It will instantly turn into an icy crust on your clothes. The heat from the fire pleasantly warms one side, while the other slowly begins to cool down. You roll smoothly onto the other side to distribute this precious heat evenly. You listen to the sensations on your skin, not allowing even a drop of sweat to appear. Your every movement is measured and unhurried. You move the coals closer to the edge of the fire pit so that the heat reflects off the wall of the shelter. This technique creates an invisible heat dome directly above you. You feel the air around you becoming less bitter. You breathe deeply, inhaling the warm air. The red embers crackle quietly, obediently moving under the blows of your long branch. You arrange the coals in a straight line along your resting place. The air inside your small shelter changes noticeably, filling with a pleasant softness. This microclimate you have created gives you a brief moment of comfort. You listen intently to every sound outside the circle of light. Suddenly, you hear the faint crunch of snow in the distance. Your breath catches for a few seconds. You focus your hearing in that direction, trying to determine the distance. This faint crunch stands out sharply against the familiar sounds of the wind and crackling logs. You lift your head slightly above the skin so that nothing interferes with your listening. Your eyes are wide open, trying unsuccessfully to pierce the thick wall of darkness. The silence now seems unnatural and very heavy. You realize that calmness is now much more important than fear. With an effort of will, you force your heart to beat more evenly. Panic can lead to rash actions and fatal mistakes. You continue to lie motionless, blending in with your surroundings. Your pulse gradually slows down, returning to its normal, calm rhythm. Your hand gently rests on the handle of your trusty tool, ready for any turn of events. You become just another silent shadow in this winter forest. The situation is under your complete inner control. You pull the edge of the skin higher, covering your neck. You leave only your eyes and nose exposed. Your gaze is fixed on the tongues of flame dancing in the wind. The fire becomes your only companion on this long night. The soft fur feels pleasant against the frozen skin on your chin. The yellow-red reflections of the flames are mirrored in your unblinking eyes. There is something mesmerizing and soothing about this dance of the elements. You draw new strength from this spectacle for the long wait ahead. You notice how quickly the thin branches burn. You have to carefully stick your hand out from under the cover. You take the prepared log and place it in the very center. You quickly hide your hand back under the warm fur. The sudden change in temperature burns the skin on your fingers as you leave your warm cocoon. The heavy wood falls with a dull thud onto the hot coals, raising a shower of bright sparks. The flames reluctantly engulf their new prey, slowly burning with renewed vigor. Now there will be enough fire for a while. You mentally draw a map of the camp in your head. You remember the location of every bush, every log, and every hole. This mental map will help you find your way if the light suddenly goes out. You check your memory again and again. You continue to monitor every spark that flies out of the fire. You know that the outcome of this night depends on the stability of the flame. The wind periodically changes direction, throwing handfuls of snow directly into the coals. You build a small screen out of wet bark on the windward side. This barrier takes the brunt of the cold air. The flames even out and begin to burn more evenly. You nod with satisfaction as you look at the result of your efforts. You notice that moisture from the ground is beginning to rise to the coals. You carefully place several flat stones under the burning logs. The stones heat up and return the heat back to the fire, insulating it from the dampness. This simple technique saves a lot of fuel. You run your fingers through the supply of brushwood, assessing its quantity. You need to stretch this supply until the first rays of the sun appear. You begin to break thick branches into smaller pieces. Small pieces will allow you to regulate the heat more accurately. You hear a new sound, different from the usual noise of the wind. It sounds like a dull thud of something heavy hitting the frozen ground. You slowly raise yourself up on your elbows. Your gaze is fixed in the direction from which the sound came. You don't make any sudden movements so as not to give away your presence. You just wait for the sound to repeat, but everything goes quiet. You decide not to check the source of the noise, staying safe within your circle of light. You lower yourself back onto your bedding. You take a small handful of dry grass from your bag. You crumple it into a tight ball and place it next to you. If the fire starts to die down, this grass will help you quickly revive it. You always keep fire-starting tools handy. You feel the frost getting stronger with every passing hour. The starry sky above you is completely cloudless, which guarantees a sharp cold snap by morning. You pull the skins even tighter. You close your eyes for a couple of minutes, giving them a rest from the bright light. You force yourself to open your eyes and continue watching. Sleep now is tantamount to defeat. You focus on the task of staying warm. You throw another branch on the fire. You continue your silent vigil by the fire. The shadows from the trees lengthen and distort in the uneven light of the flames. Every flicker of the fire causes these shadows to move, as if they were living creatures. You learn to distinguish between the play of light and real movement. Hunters of the past always knew that nighttime fires could be very deceptive. The flames constantly dance due to light gusts of wind and burning resin in the branches. This makes the tree trunks around you seem like walking giants. At times like these, you have to constantly remind yourself of the laws of physics and optics. You shift your gaze from one shadow to another, not lingering in one place for too long. Constantly focusing on one point can cause the illusion of movement. Your eyes glide around the perimeter of the camp at a set rhythm. You blink more often to moisten your eyes, which have dried out in the cold. In complete darkness, human peripheral vision works much better than direct vision. That is why you try to look slightly away from the most suspicious areas of the forest. This physiological feature of the eye has saved countless lives in the wild. The bright patches of snow between the trees provide an excellent background for recognizing any silhouettes. You hear the long hum of the wind in the crowns of tall pine trees. This sound merges with the crackling of burning wood, creating a monotonous background. You try to pick out any extraneous noises from this background. Your hearing is working at its limit. Pine and fir branches often shoot hot coals due to the abundance of tree resin. This loud crackling can easily drown out the footsteps of a sneaking predator. So you turn your head so that one ear is directed toward the dark thicket. The wind is blowing from that direction today, which means it could carry important sounds. You notice that the edge of your fur cape is covered with a thin layer of frost. Your breath turns into steam, which settles on your clothes and freezes. You carefully shake off the ice crystals so that they don't melt and wet the fur. You do this slowly and quietly. Wet clothes in severe frost are the surest way to rapid hypothermia. Ancient people always took great care to keep their skins and hiking boots dry. The ice on the collar must be removed before body heat turns it into water. One wrong move and the destructive moisture will soak deep into the fabric. You check your body position, making sure it is not stiff. You gently knead your fingers and toes. Blood circulation should not stop for a second. You feel a slight tingling in your feet. To prevent your limbs from freezing, you alternately tense and relax your calf muscles. This simple technique helps drive warm blood from your heart to your feet without unnecessary movement. Experienced trackers could sit in ambush for hours using such inconspicuous exercises. Your hands remain warm under thick clothing. You take a long stick and gently stir the far edge of the fire. Several bright sparks fly into the air and fade into the darkness. This gesture shows invisible observers that you are awake. You signal your presence and readiness. You lie back down and look up at the sky. The cold light of the stars shines through the branches of the trees. You try to determine the time by the position of the constellations. There are still several long hours before dawn. The North Star serves as your most reliable guide in this cold world. The Big Dipper slowly makes its nightly rotation around it. Travelers have long used the angle of this celestial pattern to determine the exact time before sunrise. Now the stars tell you that the coldest time of the day is ahead. You slip into a light trance, balancing on the edge between sleep and wakefulness. Your body rests, but your mind continues to register what is happening around you. This technique allowed hunters to regain their strength during long journeys. You are in complete control of this process. You catch a faint smell of dampness carried by a gust of wind. This smell is different from the smell of smoke and pine needles. You notice this change in your surroundings. You increase your level of alertness. A sudden dampness could mean the approach of thick fog or a snow front. Sometimes this heavy scent comes from the wet fur of a large animal. In any case, nature is giving you a clear signal of a sudden change in the environment. Your instincts make your heart beat a little faster. You continue to lie motionless, waiting for events to unfold. Your will to live is stronger than any external pressure. You know you have to hold out until morning. You check your supply of brushwood again. Silence is more frightening than noise. You suddenly realize that the wind has completely died down. The forest is plunged into absolute ringing silence. At that very moment, you clearly hear a single step on the crunchy snow. A sudden cessation of wind often precedes severe weather changes in a winter forest. At such moments, all nocturnal creatures instinctively freeze, as if waiting for a storm. This unnatural silence presses on your eardrums more than the howling of a blizzard. Any sound in such a forest vacuum resounds like thunder in a clear sky. A footstep sounds very close to the edge of your barrier of branches. You instantly shake off your drowsiness. You smoothly shift your weight onto your knees without making a sound. Your gaze is fixed on the place where the sound came from. The crust is a thick layer of ice on the surface of the snow, formed by temperature changes. To break it with such a loud crunch, you need to be quite heavy. A small animal would simply run across it without leaving a trace. This means that the night visitor to the camp is quite large and heavy. You slowly lower your hand to your belt and feel for the handle of your weapon. You don't pull it out, just keep your hand ready. You wait for the second step, but it doesn't come. Someone or something has stopped and is watching you from the darkness. The cold metal of the handle feels good in your palm through the thin fabric of your glove. It gives you the minimum confidence you need in your own strength. The wild creatures of the thicket rarely attack a person sitting by the fire first, unless they are frightened. You try not to make any sudden movements so as not to provoke an attack. You take a thick branch from the pile of firewood and throw it right into the center of the fire. A shower of sparks flies into the night sky, illuminating the space around you. For a split second, the light reveals a vague silhouette in the darkness. The silhouette silently disappears among the trees. The sudden sparks act as an effective deterrent, momentarily blinding those accustomed to the darkness. Animals that are nocturnal are extremely sensitive to bright and sudden sources of light. This simple historical technique allows you to gain precious seconds of time. At the same time, you did not notice the characteristic glow of the eyes, which makes the situation even more mysterious. You continue to kneel, staring into the void. Your breathing becomes rapid, thick clouds of steam escaping from your mouth. You force yourself to breathe evenly so as not to lose control of your emotions. You analyze what you have seen. Adrenaline rushes into your bloodstream, causing your heart to pound heavily somewhere in your throat. In harsh conditions, this hormone mobilizes all the hidden reserves of the human body for survival. A deep breath through your nose and a slow exhale through your mouth help restore your heart rhythm. Panic is now your main and most dangerous internal enemy. You understand that invisible guests are testing your reaction to their presence. You must not show agitation or panic. Slowly and confidently, you add a few more logs to the fire. The flames flare up with renewed vigor. Fire has always been the only reliable barrier between a traveler and the night forest. The brighter the flames burn, the wider the circle of safety around your campsite becomes. Dry wood catches quickly, generously giving off the necessary heat. The heat hits your face pleasantly, driving away the night cold that is approaching from all sides. You return to your bedding, but now you sit down, leaning your back against the support. You are not going to lie down again tonight. Your position allows you to see the entire perimeter of the camp at once. You are ready to meet any surprise. Sitting with your back securely protected is always much safer when spending the night outdoors. The thick trunk of the old tree behind you serves as an excellent shield against attack from behind. Now your field of vision covers all possible routes of hidden approach to the camp. Every muscle is slightly tense, fully ready for instant action. You begin to hum a monotonous tune quietly. The sound does not attract attention, but it creates a rhythm that helps you stay focused. You merge with this rhythm, building up your inner defenses against the looming fear. Your voice sounds even and calm. The human voice is a very unusual and disturbing sound for forest dwellers. Confident and calm muttering scares away uninvited guests much better than a loud scream. The beast instinctively understands that its potential prey is not afraid of it at all. Such musical meditation also helps to measure the slow passing of time until dawn. You feel the tension in the air begin to ease. The invisible threat has retreated, realizing that the camp is well protected and you are awake. You continue to tend the fire and watch the shadows. You have won this small nighttime battle. You sit by the fire staring at the smoldering coals. The night is past its midpoint and the temperature has dropped to its lowest point. The frosty air becomes thick and heavy. You feel the cold trying to freeze your joints. The physics of the atmosphere are such that it is in the hours before dawn that the earth gives off the heat it has accumulated during the day. Cold air always sinks into low-lying areas, accumulating at the very surface of the snow. At such times, any immobility threatens rapid frostbite. The human body activates its defense mechanisms, directing hot blood to the internal organs. You begin to gently massage your hands and feet. You rub your muscles through thick clothing, stimulating blood circulation. Every movement requires effort, but you force yourself to continue. You cannot let the cold defeat you. You take a small piece of hard fat out of your backpack. You put it in your mouth and slowly let it melt. The fat gives your body the energy it needs to generate internal heat. You feel the saving warmth spreading through your body. Animal fat has long been the main fuel for travelers in harsh winter conditions. It has the highest energy value and is absorbed slowly by the body. This ensures long and stable calorie production, working like a kind of internal stove. Ordinary dried meat without a layer of fat would not provide such a powerful warming effect. You check the fire again. The wood supply has shrunk noticeably. You need to use the remaining brushwood as efficiently as possible. You gather the coals into a tight pile and cover them with flat stones. Stones have excellent heat capacity and can accumulate heat from smoldering coals. Indians and experienced hunters often use this method to heat small shelters. The main rule here is to choose the right type of stone. River boulders can explode from temperature changes, so it is better to take dry stones from high ground. You create the effect of a stove that slowly gives off heat into the surrounding space. You sit close to this improvised stove, covering yourself with a skin over your head. A warm microclimate forms inside. You breathe in the warm air, regaining your strength. You listen to the sounds of the forest. The silence has become less oppressive and tense. You hear the distant crack of a branch breaking in the frost. These sounds tell you that nature continues to live at its usual pace. At extremely low temperatures, the sap inside tree trunks freezes and expands. This causes the wood fibers to break, which sounds like a loud crack in the silence of the night. An experienced taiga dweller can roughly determine the degree of frost by the frequency of these cracks. The louder and more frequent the cracks in the forest, the lower the thermometer has dropped. You mentally review the events of the past night. You analyze your actions and note the moments that could have been improved. Survival experience is built on constant analysis and adaptation. You remember every important detail. You feel your eyelids getting heavy. The urge to sleep becomes almost irresistible. You start pinching your arms to ward off sleepiness. You know that sleep in the pre-dawn hours is most dangerous for survival. During deep sleep, the human body temperature naturally drops by several degrees. In the winter forest, such a drop can be fatal and lead to hypothermia. The insidiousness of freezing is that in the final stage, a person begins to feel a false sense of warmth. Therefore, it is extremely important to maintain at least minimal physical and mental activity. You recall stories from your elders about winter journeys. These stories serve as invisible spiritual support. You draw strength from the traditions of your people. You feel a connection with those who have gone through similar trials before you. You continue your vigil, fighting sleep in the cold. Every minute brings you closer to morning. You watch for changes in the density of the darkness. You wait for the first sign of dawn. You decide to keep your hands busy to finally chase away sleep. You take your backpack and begin to sort through its contents. You check the condition of the straps and ties for wear and tear. In a winter crossing, your equipment must be perfect. Fine motor skills help stimulate the brain and get the blood flowing. Leather straps become stiff in severe cold and can easily snap if pulled sharply. Careful maintenance of equipment has saved the lives of many pioneers and trailblazers. Any broken strap along the way will result in a loss of precious time and energy. You take out your spare moccasins made of thick leather. You need them in your hands so they don't harden in the cold. You check the seams, stitched with strong tendons. Footwear is the foundation of your survival on the snowy plain. Traditional footwear of indigenous peoples was sewn with fur on the inside for maximum heat retention. Animal tendons, used instead of thread, swelled with moisture and made the seam almost waterproof. However, such leather had to be kneaded regularly, otherwise it turned into ice blocks. A spare pair should always be warm and ready for immediate replacement. You examine the blade of your work knife. You wipe it with a piece of dry leather, removing the slightest traces of moisture. The metal must be clean and completely ready for use. You carefully return the knife to its sheath. You rearrange the remaining pieces of dried meat into a convenient position. You assess your food supplies for the day ahead. You have a long journey through deep snow ahead of you. You will need a lot of energy for this trek. Moving through deep snow drifts takes several times more calories than walking on solid ground. Properly organizing your rations allows you to eat on the go without making long stops. Frozen meat should be kept close to your body so that it thaws slightly before eating. Every ounce of weight in your bag must be carefully considered and justified. You check your supply of flint and tinder. This is your guarantee that you will be able to start a fire again the next night. You wrap the tinder in an extra layer of waterproof skin. You hide the bundle deep in the bottom of your bag. Dry moss, birch bark, or tinder fungus were often used as ideal tinder. The slightest drop of condensation can render these materials completely useless for kindling. Storing fire-making supplies in the center of your backpack protects them from outside snow and accidental drops. An experienced traveler would rather lose their weapon than their supply of dry tinder. You carefully fold the ropes, checking them for strength. The ropes are needed to set up the teepee and secure the load. You tie them into a tight, even bundle. You place the bundle next to the other items. This mechanical work helps you distract yourself from the cold and the long wait. Your hands move confidently and with extreme precision. You know every item in your bag by touch. The orderliness of your belongings reflects the orderliness of your thoughts. Familiar actions that have become automatic are excellent for calming the nervous system. In extreme situations, people often lose the ability to think rationally and succumb to panic. A strict algorithm for packing up camp restores a sense of control over what is happening. Knowing where everything is allows you to act in the dark without unnecessary fuss. You glance eastward again. The sky is still black, but the stars are beginning to fade. This is the first, barely noticeable sign of the approaching morning. You feel a wave of sincere relief. You gather the small pieces of wood scattered around the fire. You throw them into the fire to get one last burst of bright light. The flames flare up, dispelling the last of the night shadows. You warm your hands over this fleeting warmth. You pack your bag and tighten the straps. Your gear is ready to continue the difficult journey. You are mentally prepared to face the new day. You continue to watch the horizon intently. You reflect on the nature of fear and endurance. A night in the forest sharpens all your instincts, causing your imagination to paint frightening pictures. You learn to control these images, not allowing them to take over your mind. Fear should be your tool, not your master. Psychologists have long proven that in conditions of poor visibility, the human brain begins to actively fill in the missing information. This ancient defense mechanism causes us to see predators in ordinary bushes or fallen trees. Evolution taught our ancestors to always assume the worst-case scenario for the sake of survival. Understanding this biological feature helps to keep emotions under strict control. You remember how you learned to distinguish between real threats and imagined dangers? You analyze sounds, smells, and the slightest changes in wind direction. Your experience tells you when to be alert and when to relax. You trust your senses completely. You understand the enormous importance of inner balance. Panic burns precious energy and causes you to take the wrong steps. You practice deep breathing to calm your racing heart. Your mind remains cool and completely clear. The physiological cost of panic in a winter forest is incredibly high. A sharp release of adrenaline causes the body to rapidly burn through its glycogen reserves in the muscles. After such a burst, severe weakness and apathy inevitably follow. In severe cold, such a loss of energy almost always leads to fatal hypothermia. You realize your humble place in the world around you. You don't try to conquer nature, you learn to survive in it. You accept the icy cold and darkness as a given. This philosophical attitude helps you endure any hardship. You mentally transport yourself to your home camp. You remember the warmth of a large fire and the calm voices of your fellow tribesmen. These memories warm you from within in the most difficult moments. They give you a clear goal for your journey. The method of positive visualization really affects a person's physical condition. Pleasant thoughts about a safe place reduce stress levels and slow down the pulse. Thanks to this, the blood vessels stop constricting due to anxiety. Warm blood begins to circulate more freely throughout the body, warming the freezing limbs. You focus on the main task, returning home safely. You imagine how you will tell about this long night by the fire. This image gives you new strength. You are confident that you can overcome any obstacles. You notice how your perception of time itself is changing. At night, the hours drag on endlessly, while during the day, they fly by unnoticed. You learn to live in the present moment without rushing events. You simply observe the slow passage of time. In the dark, the brain loses its usual visual cues, which greatly distorts the sense of time. Without sunlight, a person's internal biological clock begins to malfunction. Every minute of waiting in the cold and tension seems endless. The ability to abstract oneself from counting time is an important survival skill. Your inner resilience is the result of long training and following traditions. You are the bearer of the ancient knowledge of your people. This knowledge helps you survive where many others would have given up. You are proud of your cultural heritage, Oral transmission of experience was the only way to preserve the indigenous people's knowledge of survival in harsh conditions. Information about animal habits and the properties of materials was woven into legends and stories told around the campfire. This form of teaching allowed vital rules to be reliably engraved in the memory of generations. It is these ancient instructions that now help you make the right decisions. You take a deep breath of the frosty morning air. Your thoughts remain clear, and your body is fully prepared for further action. You are confidently in control of yourself and your surroundings. You greet the dawn with complete dignity. The sky in the east begins to turn dark blue. The stars finally fade away, giving way to the gray light of dawn. The outlines of snow-covered trees become clear and real. The shadows of the night disappear, taking with them an oppressive feeling of anxiety. The first rays of the sun trigger important chemical processes in the human body. The light signals the brain to stop producing the sleep hormone. At the same time, substances enter the bloodstream that activate all the body's systems for active work. The natural alarm clock works flawlessly, dispelling the fatigue of the night. You stand up to your full height and slowly stretch. Your joints crack quietly after long periods of tension and sitting. You make a few energetic movements to get your blood flowing. The cold no longer seems so piercing and hostile. You survey your camp in the clear daylight. The barrier of branches looks fragile, but it has served its purpose well. The fire pit is covered with a thick layer of white, cooling ash. Your footprints in the snow are clearly visible around the shelter. You cautiously step outside the circle of light cast by the fire. You carefully examine the snow for any foreign footprints. You notice a deep chain of footprints running alongside the barrier. The nighttime visitors were indeed very close. You analyze the depth and distance between the footprints. They move cautiously, studying your camp from the side for a long time. Your vigilance and the fire you kept burning forced them to leave. You are convinced that your decisions during the night were absolutely correct. Wild predators are extremely patient and can spend hours studying a human camp. Large animals rarely attack unless they sense weakness or fear. The steady burning of the fire and your constant vigilance became an insurmountable obstacle for them. The animals simply assessed the risks and went in search of easier prey. You return to the fire and carefully stir the ashes. At the bottom, small red coals are still smoldering. You put some dry grass and thin twigs on them. You fan the coals until an even, bright flame appears. You put a pot with a small amount of clean snow on the fire. The snow melts quickly, turning into drinkable water. You throw a pinch of dried herbs into the boiling water for flavor. The hot drink will help you warm up before the long journey. Drinking ordinary cold snow is one of the most common mistakes made by inexperienced travelers. To melt the ice inside the stomach, the body expends an enormous amount of its own heat. This leads to a rapid drop in body temperature from within. Boiling water with pine needles or herbs also helps to replenish vitamin reserves. You drink the hot brew in small, careful sips. A pleasant warmth spreads through your stomach and throughout your body. You feel an incredible surge of long-awaited vigor and energy. The fatigue of the night recedes into the background. You begin to roll up your skins and pack up your camping gear. Your movements remain quick, precise, and efficient. You clean up the campsite, trying not to leave any unnecessary traces behind. You respect nature and try not to disturb its pristine harmony. You throw your backpack over your shoulder and look at the rising sun. Its bright rays sparkle on the white snow, slightly blinding your eyes. The night is over, and a new day of your difficult journey has begun. You take your first confident step on the crunchy snow. Every detail, from the correct placement of the fire to controlling your own breathing, was crucial. This night has shown that knowledge of nature and the ability to read its signs are the best weapons against darkness and cold. The experience of generations has been passed down through such trials, shaping the unyielding character of indigenous peoples.